All right, welcome. ZASLOW Show 2.0. It is a Thursday, the 30th of March. Good to have you aboard. Of course, we are a Blue Wire podcast. Glad to have you here with us. However you're listening, make sure you like, you rate, you comment, you do all that good stuff. And everybody knows ZASLOW Show 2.0 is always presented by our title sponsor, Anidjar and Levine, accident attorneys, 800-747-FREE, 800-747-3733. If you're listening to ZASLOW Show 2.0, I practically consider you family, and I want to make sure if you've been in an accident, you get taken care of. That's why I send you to the best. If you're in an accident, doesn't matter what kind, you first call 911. Let's make sure everyone is safe. Then you get an attorney on the phone immediately when you call Anidjar and Levine. 800-747-FREE. That's 800-747-3733. WrestleMania week continues. The Final Four is just 2 sleeps away. We got a lot happening here. I went to bed last night feeling good. That's right, I went to bed on my Sheets and Giggles sheets. Feel really great about that. I'll tell you exactly why. The Panthers last night. The Panthers. Now, they're dead. I proclaimed them dead a few nights ago. But they're apparently going to stretch this baby out a little bit longer. We'll get to the Panthers. So, the Heat last night. Terrible. They finally put themselves in a position with that win against New York last week, and they've completely shit the bed and at times looked incompetent since. We'll get to the Heat, of course. But today, it's Major League Baseball opening day. That's right. So the Marlins today, the Marlins begin their season. They're hosting the Mets. You got a great matchup. We'll talk about that coming up. It does feel a little bit like it's flown under the radar now. You know, there was a real good buzz about Major League Baseball once spring training started with the pitch clock and some of the new rules. But now that opening day is here, I feel like it's kind of flying under the radar. I don't even know what kind of crowd to expect at Lone Depot Park today. I don't believe it'll be a sellout. And that comes on the heels of an incredible showing with the World Baseball Classic. I don't think it'll be a sellout. I actually think I'm going to the game tomorrow. My younger son wants to go with some of his friends to the game, so, excuse me. I think we're actually going to be going to the Marlins game tomorrow night. We'll see. I'm not trying to go. Everybody knows when I'm trying to go. That means I'm looking for the hookup. We're going to purchase tickets tomorrow. I'm not concerned about that. So, I think we're going to the game tomorrow. But anyway, so Major League Baseball opening day is here. And we didn't have Major League Baseball down here until 1993. So I was 12 years old. And I was a baseball fan growing up. Of course, I played Little League. You know, most kids who play sports in their youth started with Little League, started with baseball. And I played Little League Baseball probably till, starting with T-ball at like 6. Played until I think I was 11. Yeah, I think 11 playing. I played 2 years, kid pitch. I think I was 11, maybe 12. So, and then it was like, all right, I just want to focus on basketball. But anyway, we didn't have baseball down here until 93. So I grew up, I was a Cubs fan. And because ZASLOW, how are you a Cubs fan? Well, you got to think about it. I liked baseball. We didn't have a team. What was I able to watch? Well, WGN, flagship station of the Chicago Cubs back then, that was on every cable network lineup. That was on every cable provider's lineup. And the Cubs played during the day. So as a kid, I used to be able to watch a ton of Cubs games. So I loved the Cubs. Greg Maddux, Ryan Sandberg, of course, Andre Dawson, Sean Dunston, Mark Grace. I loved the Cubs. Ryan Sandberg and Andre Dawson, my favorite players. And I watched a lot of Cubs baseball. Back then, if you were a kid or maybe even a teenager, if you weren't a Cubs fan, and there weren't a lot of Cubs fans down here, I didn't find. But if you weren't a Cubs fan, you liked the Yankees. The Yankees played on CBS on Sunday afternoons. You got those games. Or the Braves. Braves played on Superstation, TBS, every night. You watch the Braves. So, a lot of Braves fans down here back then. A lot of Yankee fans. The Yankees, of course, it's spring training. And even the Orioles. The Orioles used to do spring training in Fort Lauderdale. But I was a Cubs fan because we got WGN. And anyway, so once the Marlins started in 93, fuck the Cubs. I don't care. I'm a Marlins fan now for sure. And I remember starting in 93. So 93, that was, I was in 5th grade, I think. I was 12 years old. So no, 6th grade. 6th grade was the first year of the Marlins. But I remember those first few years, opening day, like today's 4:10. But I feel like opening day is usually like 1 o'clock. And you would have the kids who were getting checked out of school early. They were leaving school, their dad was picking up to go to opening day. And I was always so jealous of that. Because I was never one of those kids. I was never the kid who his dad took out of school early on opening day. Not because we didn't like baseball or not because, you can't miss any school. Just, we weren't in that kind of situation, for my dad not to work that day. And, we were a middle-class family. We weren't able to buy tickets for everything. I was never that kid who was leaving school early that day, opening day, to go to the game. And I was always jealous of that kid. And there were a bunch of them. And I was always jealous of that kid who got to leave on opening day. So one day I'll do that for my boys. Baseball the way it is now, they're not so into. Well, my younger son's into it. He would love that. He would love to be picked up a little early from school. Now today's not the kind of day. It's 4:10. You don't have to leave school early for 4:10. But maybe next year, I'm all for it. Obviously, I'll take my kid out and go to opening day. What do I care? You miss half a day of school, who cares? But I was always jealous of that. Not being able to go, not being one of those kids who was taken out of school and going to opening day with his dad. So I'll do that at one point. I think we're going tomorrow night. I think we'll check out the Marlins this weekend. I'm sure. I don't think it'll be a sellout today. It'll probably be close. You got a ton of Mets fans. We know the expectations with the Mets. That's a World Series caliber team. So MLB opening day today. I hope everybody who's listening to the show, maybe you're listening on your way to the game right now. I certainly appreciate that. So have fun out there if you're going today. Obviously, you got a great matchup. Hey, it's WrestleMania week. We're 2 sleeps away from the Final Four, but it's WrestleMania week. And my guy Chris Van Vliet, Insight with Chris Van Vliet, you can get the podcast anywhere. Used to be on Deco Drive down here in South Florida. He's out there in Hollywood now. He's got all the big celeb interviews. He does all those press junkets. He's a huge pro wrestling guy as well. Very connected in that world. Really good to me. He's on Blue Wire also, just like we are. So we're going to get my man Chris Van Vliet on the show. We're going to talk WrestleMania. We got to get into all of that good stuff with him. So I'm really looking forward to getting him back on the show. All right, so we're going to start with the bad from last night first, which would be the Miami Heat. But let me start with a little good first. And I want to tell you guys, hey, it's Thursday. Maybe you're thinking about Final Four this Saturday night. I got to get some stuff to put on the grill. Well, I'm sending you to Broward Meat and Fish. You want to cook up a bunch of steaks? You want to get some seafood as well? Hey, I'm telling you about one of our newest sponsors, Broward Meat and Fish. I haven't seen a selection of meat and seafood like I saw the very first time ever that I walked in Broward Meat and Fish. Newest location, grand opening was a few weeks ago in Margate. They got one right here by me in Pembroke Pines as well. Go to browardmeatandfish.com. You can find the location nearest you. But not just meat and fish. You could do an entire supermarket shop, all right? It's your one-stop shop for everything. But especially when you're prepping for your next meal, Broward Meat and Fish, they got everything you need. And with the butchers and the fishmongers there at their full-service meat and seafood counter, they're going to prepare your selection exactly the way you want it. You're going to get that perfect cut. You're going to get the freshest flavor and quality. So Final Four this weekend. You're going to grill it up all throughout the day on Saturday. Get ready for the Canes. Get ready for FAU. Broward Meat and Fish. That's what we're talking about. So that's the good stuff. Now let's get to the bad stuff, which was your Miami Heat last night. So the Miami Heat, they had an opportunity. We know this. Last week, even though you had a disappointing game right before it, you had the game against the Knicks where, okay, if we win this game, we got a shot not just at number 6, but a shot at number 5 to catch the Knicks. Well, those plans are done. So the Heat, since beating the Knicks last week, finding themselves in the 6th spot, and I think at the time they were probably one back of the Knicks for 5 after beating them last week, you got a chance now to jump all the way up to 5. Well, forget about that. The Heat are a lock for the play-in now with 5 games left after last night's pitiful second half, really fourth quarter, against the New York Knicks. The game was nip and tuck. It was tight. The Heat can't score. We know that. Fourth quarter comes around. They go into another one of those lulls, and you give up a couple easy baskets. Fast break slam dunk Josh Hart. Fast break slam dunk. I think the other one was RJ Barrett maybe. Timeout Heat. All of a sudden, they're down by 9. They wind up not competitive late in the game. They wind up losing to the Knicks and losing the season series 3-1. So what does that do? The Heat put themselves in a position where they beat the Knicks last week. They're in the 6th spot. And what do? They follow that up with losses to the Nets, where they get smoked at home. The Raptors, they get smoked in Toronto. And the Knicks last night. The Heat now find themselves 40-37. Forget the Knicks. Forget catch the Knicks. You're 4 back with 5 to play. That's over. Can you still catch Brooklyn? Well, they're now 2 back of Brooklyn, but they're actually 3 back of Brooklyn because they don't own the tiebreak. 3 back of the Nets, 5 to play. It ain't happening. So now, let's look at the play-in, which is where the Heat are destined. Now, I told you, I don't mind the Heat being in the play-in, but that's when it looked like number 7 was a lock. That ain't the case anymore. You look right now, the Heat are 1 game up on both Atlanta and Toronto. I don't have a problem if the Heat are hosting Toronto. If the Heat are hosting Atlanta. But if they wind up hosting Toronto, that game's not a gimme. And then you would find yourself in a do-or-die game in the second play-in game. Well, what if you don't even hold on to number 7? You're only 1 game up on Atlanta and Toronto. The Heat could drop to number 9. And then you got 1 chance to win 2 games. One of them would be on the road, instead of 2 chances to win 1 with both at home. The Heat all of a sudden, the Heat had a chance to jump to 5. And now all of a sudden, they're legitimately in danger of losing in the play-in and missing the playoffs altogether. This season sucks. I mean, there's no other way to put it. The season sucks. I don't even have so much to say about last night's game. It obviously stinks when you lose to the Knicks. But just overall, this is the scenario now where we got to wonder if the Heat, if they're not going to drop all the way down to 9. So next up for Miami, you have Dallas on Saturday night, and they got their own problems. Then it's at Detroit, at Philadelphia, at Washington, Orlando to close the season. If you're going to hold on to the number 7 spot, you got to go at least 3-2, you would think. Because then for the teams behind you to catch you, they got to go 4-1. You got to be at least 3-2. So you have to win at Detroit. Detroit's beat the Heat. You have to win at Detroit. You have to win at Washington. You have to beat Orlando at home. Those have to be the 3 games that you win. But realistically, how do you not beat Dallas this weekend? But the Heat can beat anyone, and they can lose to anyone. So if you beat Dallas this weekend, you'll put yourself in a great position where you could afford to just go 2-2 in the final 4 games. And 3 of those final 4 games are super winnable. But who the hell knows with this team? Who knows? So I don't really have anything else to say about the Heat from last night. It was a pathetic fourth quarter. I'll be honest. I had the Panthers on the big TV most of the time. Now I did some flip-flopping. Started with the Panthers. Panthers get to intermission. Then flip-flop. Heat on the big TV. Heat get to halftime. Boom. Let's switch that back up. Back to the Panthers. And then the Heat, fourth quarter. Barely worth watching that fourth quarter for the Heat. You saw the direction it was going in. And the Panthers. All right. Everybody settle down for a second. The Panthers last night. This was very high drama. So the Panthers last night they go up 1-0 early in the game. A minute in. Anton Lundell. Good. Look, I see you, Anton Lundell. You know what you did last game. You know what you did. But I see you, Anton Lundell, putting the Panthers up 1-0 early. From that point on, the Panthers got severely outplayed. They were terrible. The Leafs tied up 1-1 in the second. And then in the third, well, actually, it was late in the second. So late in the second, it's 1-1. Panthers are playing like shit. Alex Lyon's in goal because Bobrovsky is sick. Panthers are in Montreal tonight. Hopefully Bobrovsky's better. But Alex Lyon won the Panthers this game. He was awesome. He was standing on his head most of the game. They go down 2-1, you think. Morty's challenges for offside. Now, you got to understand, when coaches challenge goalie interference, that's hit or miss. When the coaches challenge offside, they usually win that challenge. They could see in the replay, he's offside, let's challenge. Because you can't just challenge everything all willy-nilly, because if you lose the challenge, obviously you lose the goal, and you're on the penalty. So, Maurice probably knows that he's going to win this challenge. The scoreboard says 2-1, although it's likely going to stay 1-1. And Paul Maurice is lighting up his team like you've never seen before. This could only happen in hockey. It's so hockey. Paul Maurice is lighting them up on the bench. And you could easily say, first of all, he does his best Logan Roy from Secession impression, and he tells somebody to fuck off. I'd love to know who that was who he was saying that to. But he is over and over. You could read his lips. Easy to read his lips. You have to excuse my language. Easy to read his lips. Over and over again, he keeps calling them, you're playing like a bunch of fucking pussies. Again, excuse my language. I don't know any other way to say it. And he keeps saying it over and over again. You're playing like a bunch of effing, and he's saying the real word, of effing and, pussies. Over and over again. I've never seen anything like it. And it really feels like a season's worth of frustration. And he's stunk. He's the murderer of fun. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, yeah, you know what? I kind of dig what he's doing right now. This is maybe the only time of the season where I'm kind of into what Paul Maurice is doing. Because, yes, they're playing like a bunch of effing, you-know-whats. Rhymes with ussies. So I'm kind of into what Paul Maurice is doing right here. So they come back from the challenge. I mean, oh my God. You've never seen anything like it. In the NBA, can you imagine if a coach yelled at his NBA players? In the NBA, a team's major concern is their superstar happy? They always have to be happy. Can you imagine if a team is getting lit up by their coach like this? The NBA player, he'd be so unhappy. He'd be asking for a trade the next day. In the NBA, these players, they wouldn't be able to handle it. They're so soft. They wouldn't be happy if the coach was yelling at them, trying to coach them up. But in the NHL, hey, this can happen. Because the players are professional and the coach is allowed to coach. And so what happens from that point on? We get to the third period, still 1-1. Maple Leafs eventually take a 2-1 lead. Okay. Now we're in big trouble. Because I already declared the Panthers done a couple nights ago. But we're in big trouble. We're getting sorely outplayed. The only reason they're in this game is because of Alex Lyon. Panthers have a power play late in the game. They're going to finish the game on the power play, the Panthers. They also pull the goalie extra skater. 6-on-4. Under a minute to go.
Yet with a minute to go. Here's Aaron Ekblad. One time to score! They cash it in! And with 58 and a half seconds left, the Panthers have tied it at 2.
Good work by the Panthers to regain control of that puck, and they were looking for that clean shot over on the far side. They had 2 extra men on the ice.
A miracle. It really was a miracle. Ekblad, tipped by Reinhart, tie the game. Ekblad was super pumped. 2-2 now with just under a minute to go. The Panthers have new life inexplicably. They don't deserve it. Alex Lyon's the only one who deserves new life. 2-2 now, and they wind up... And this was one of those where it's like, don't do anything dangerous. You got to get to overtime and at least get the point. So they get to overtime, and the Panthers, they end up catching an odd man rush.
With Montour in overtime, Barkov waits, sets up Montour. Let's go home, baby! Brandon Montour wins it. 3-2 Florida.
I said it after the second period that the Panthers need the big boys to put on the big pants and come out and win this hockey game, and that's exactly what we just saw. Barkov, Montour, Reinhart. Brandon Montour gets the assist on the game-tying goal in the last minute, and then the Panthers got control of that puck, and look at the reaction. Oh, they needed that.
Another miracle. No business winning this game. Brandon Montour from Barkov, 2-on-1. Panthers win it. A game they had no business winning except for Alex Lyon. You feel real good for him. When he was going into the tunnel, he had the camera there. He was so pumped up. Fist pumping, yelling. He was so fired up. I felt really good for Alex Lyon. And Brandon Montour. Say what you want about the other guys on this team. Brandon Montour, start to finish, has had a great year. He's awesome. And now a single season, 63 points after that goal. Single season Panther record for a defenseman. He is awesome. He's probably my favorite player on the team, Brandon Montour. I love him. He gets the game-winning goal. Panthers win 3-2, a game they had no business winning. So here's where we stand right now. The Panthers are 1 point back of Pittsburgh for the second wild card. Now, the Islanders won last night also in overtime. So the Panthers remain 6 back of them with the game in hand. They are not going to catch them. There's 7 games to play. Pittsburgh has a game in hand now on the Panthers. They were idle last night. But the Panthers are now 1 point behind Pittsburgh. And here's the key. The first tiebreaker is regulation wins. Panthers will have the tiebreak over Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has 27 regulation wins. Panthers have 31. 1 point back of Pittsburgh. So Paul Maurice, obviously, I mean, he's yelling, you're a bunch of effing pussies. I've never seen anything like it. Paul Maurice was asked after the game, what happened there?
Well, that was not calculated. I was just honest. That was where I was at. If I could have yelled louder, if I had found a fucking way to be more profane than I was, I would have. I'm not gifted enough. I needed to channel my father, who's a gifted cursor. That was all I had. I was honest, and that's how I felt. And so,
what was the message?
Oh, you
like without the expletive, what was the message?
There was nothing beyond the expletive.
Okay. All right.
What were you seeing that led you to that point?
Oh, what you saw. Unless you're a Leaf fan, which everything was great on the other side of that. No, I just had it was more of a cleanse for the coach. A cleanse. I needed to. It was cathartic.
Did you know it was offside? Did you sense that it was offside, or you thought it was a goal at that point?
Oh, I didn't care. Oh, no. Oh, so when I called the timeout, I knew it was offside. And then I thought it was a very nice opportunity to share feelings.
I got to tell you, it's the first time all year that I've been on Paul Maurice's side. It really is. You know, you may not like the style of play. It may be a poor fit as coach, but they were playing like shit. They were not playing well. You got to, you had won 6 out of 7. Now you've lost 4 in a row. You're about to lose 5 in a row. Get it together. Now, I don't know, did that light a fire under them? Like, you know, some players will say that. Barkov said that after the game. Who the hell knows? Either way, it worked, I guess. It's the only time this year I've been on Paul Maurice's side. So, a miracle win for the Panthers last night, which doesn't mean anything if they don't now go into Montreal tonight. I don't care it's the second night of a back-to-back, and the Panthers have been shit on the second night of a back-to-back. Last night doesn't mean anything. Beating Toronto, a great team, doesn't mean anything if you don't go into Montreal tonight and now beat a bad Canadiens team. And the Canadiens, remember, that was the game Panthers scored, what, they had 9 goals, right? 9-4, 9-5, 9-4, 9-5 that game a couple weeks ago. Really stupid game. It doesn't mean anything last night if you don't now go into Montreal and you get 2 more points. So tonight, like I said, Panthers in Montreal, 7 o'clock game. The Penguins, they host Nashville. That's a 7 o'clock game also. Nationals good. So if the Penguins lose tonight and Panthers win, Penguins are still going to have a game in hand, but you'll find yourself in that second wild card spot, even though I declared the Panthers dead a few days ago. I'm not taking that back. Well, I still don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I'm not taking it back. I declared them dead a few days ago, but by the end of tonight, they could be sitting in that second wild card spot. We'll see. All right. So, like I said, we're going to talk to my pal Chris Van Vliet. I know the pro wrestling fan, you've been listening like, yo, ZASLOW, we got to talk more about WrestleMania. Come on. Yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to get to that in a second here. But first, I got to tell you guys, look, when life gets you salty, I'm super salty about the Heat last night. You can make yourself a margarita. That'll make you feel better, all right? Or I'm super salty about the Heat last night, so I'm focused on the Panthers win last night. That made me feel better too. Well, when water damage gets you mold in your home, you got to call or text Water Cleanup of Florida. When disaster strikes your home or your business, you need specialized, fast, and reliable services. Water Cleanup of Florida. Call my guys, the Greensteins, personal friends. Water Cleanup of Florida, they understand how an unexpected property damage, it'll overtake your life or business. It'll affect your entire well-being. Don't stress. You call or text Water Cleanup of Florida, 954-900-8635. They have over 60 years of combined experience handling your restoration project from start to finish. Fully licensed, insured general contractor, providing the one-stop shopping that busy home and business owners require. Their objective at Water Cleanup of Florida, make the cleanup and insurance claim process painless and hassle-free. It's exactly what you want to hear. They serve the entire Tri-County area, Miami, Broward, Palm Beach counties. Call or text immediately when you think there could be an issue. 954-900-8635. WCUFL.com. You want to go online. And hey, if you don't take my word for it, that's okay. You could check out more than 80 5-star reviews on Google. Water Cleanup of Florida, 954-900-8635. Water Cleanup of Florida, we clean up your schmutz. So, the Lamar Jackson saga continues. If I could fit in a little bit of NFL here before we get to Chris and do some WrestleMania week stuff. So, Lamar Jackson, we're nowhere closer to any kind of deal. It's starting to feel like we're not going to have a deal done until like right before the draft, so at the end of the month. But I feel like we're at the point here, and I already told you where I stand, all right? We're at the point, and that is, I think Lamar Jackson's unreasonable. And I think the Ravens are being smart. But we are at the point now where I think Lamar Jackson needs to stop tweeting. And I think this is the kind of stuff that hurts you not having an agent. An agent will leverage this, leverage that, will play the media here, there. Lamar Jackson, I think, needs to stop tweeting. Because now, yesterday, you know, people are giving Lamar shit on Twitter, of course. You got people talking about, hey, he sat out the last few games. He was holding out in season, ruined the Ravens season. I don't know if that's true, but it's awfully fishy. It's awfully convenient. So Lamar Jackson tweets out yesterday, I don't remember me sitting out on my guys week 1 versus the Jets to week 12 versus the Broncos. How come all of a sudden I sit out because of money in which I could have got hurt at any time within that time frame when we know the Super Bowl been on my mind since mid-April 2018? So he's saying, look, I didn't sit out the final 5 games. I could have gotten hurt in week 7, week 8, week 9, and that would have kept me out for a very long time also. So I'm not just picking and choosing. Okay. And then he continues, let's get real. I'd rather have a 100% PCL than go out there and play horrible, forcing myself to put my guys in a bad situation. Now, that's selfish to me. All right. Lamar Jackson thinks he's helping himself here, but we talked about this, right? Lamar Jackson bet on himself before the season started, or last year when he wasn't signing an extension. He bet on himself. And what happened? He did not have a great year, and he got hurt, which is everyone's big fear with giving him the guaranteed money. So he bet on himself and he lost, but he still wants the biggest contract. That's not the way it works when you bet on yourself. But Lamar Jackson here, while saying that he didn't hold out, he wasn't sitting out for the money at the end, he's telling you here, I was not 100% healthy. I did not have a 100% PCL. So Lamar Jackson thinks he's helping himself by telling you I know your big concern is my injury history, and the reason I didn't finish the season last year was because I got hurt. Now give me all my money. That's not helping his case. That right there is exactly why the Ravens don't want to give him what he's asking for. He needs to stop tweeting. Like, he's not going to get the contract he's asking for. And I think as every day goes by and he's got the itchy Twitter fingers, I think he's going to continue looking bad. And this is the kind of stuff where, he doesn't need an agent. They offered him $133 million guaranteed for 3 years. Why does he need an agent? This kind of stuff. It's not just about negotiating the contract. Sometimes you need a little bit of advice. And the advice here would be, stop tweeting, man. You're not helping your case. All right. Before we get to Chris, real quick, you guys know I love Sheets and Giggles. I've been telling you about Sheets and Giggles for a while now. I love these sheets that my man Colin, the founder and CEO at Sheets and Giggles, sent me. I got the comforter is my favorite. I love the comforter. I even have a duvet cover on the comforter, and Colin and I talked about it. It's like, the wives love the duvet cover. The husbands, they hate the duvet cover, and I agree. But I got a duvet cover on this comforter, and I think I love it. The comforter is my favorite. So I got this comforter from Sheets and Giggles, but I also have the sheets. I have the fitted sheet. I got the pillowcases. I even have a eucalyptus pillow. That's right. Eucalyptus pillows, eucalyptus mattresses. We're talking sustainably made from the wood of eucalyptus trees that are grown on sustainably managed biodiverse farms. So what am I trying to say to you? Sheets and Giggles cares about the environment. They care about the earth. They're using up to 96% less water than some cotton sheets. 30% less energy. Absolutely zero pesticides or insecticides used. Sheets and Giggles, breathable, soft. It's like I'm sleeping on silk. I love it. But I love that comforter so much. So, become one of over 100,000 Americans who are now sleeping on Sheets and Giggles, just like the ZASLOW family. Sheetsgiggles.com, sheetsgiggles.com/ZASLOW, and use my promo code ZASLOW. At your first order, you can get 20% off by using my promo code. Sheets and Giggles, I love those guys. Sheetsgiggles.com.